So welcome back to the second to last day of 12 Days of Murder. And this case, and so it's kind of weird that I'm uploading this today, but the case I have for tomorrow, it actually took the most time because like the most people died in it, I guess you could say.
You had your fun, but you're sorry now. You dressed me in white to just lay me down. I would've stayed till death took me out, but then you fucked up and gave me the gun. So I'll give you one more shot.
And so yeah, this case was surprisingly didn't get a lot of media coverage until like the past recent years, and this is when both of the people involved are released. And so yeah, let's just go get started. So of course we always start off with our killers. In this case, there is two. We're going to start off with Catherine. So Catherine Nicole Jones was born on June 6, 1985, being premature and weighing almost 4 pounds. Her mother would actually say that the abuse that she suffered from Curtis Sr., her father, was the reason why it was believed that she was born early and premature. And so then a year later after Catherine was born, we have Curtis Fairfield Jones Jr. He was born May 31st, 1986. And so their parents were Stacy and Curtis Sr., who were 17 and 23 when they met in California, apparently at a KFC. So apparently she was like a regular employee and he was like a manager. So then the mom, Stacy's white, and the dad is black. Catherine and Curtis are biracial. And so then in 1989, their parents would get married, but her mother left within months of the marriage because of the abuse. So then she tried to leave with Catherine and Curtis because she didn't want to leave them with their father, understandably. But the father apparently had made it clear that that wasn't going to happen. And then she didn't want to get her family involved because the kids were, again, biracial. And this is like the late 80s. So her parents being raised in the 60s, assuming they were raised she was like, they ain't gonna set the family because they're part black. And so somehow they ended up settling something out, and Stacy went up paying child support and got visitation rights to the kids during holidays and summers. And so then during that same year, Curtis Sr. had apparently found himself with second-degree murder charges. He had left the children in the care of his mother, so the kids' paternal grandmother pretty much, in Alabama while he went to go face said charges. And they somehow got dropped to a misdemeanor and self-defense. So I guess self-defense, obviously, I guess he didn't have to serve jail time. And so then Stacy was said to have gotten remarried and had 2 kids, which I couldn't find to confirm to be true, but apparently that happened. And so then in 1993, while living in Florida, Stacy had actually picked the 2 kids up from school without permission and had took them back to Kansas. She was arrested and charged with interference of custody, and somehow those charges were said to have gotten dropped too. And so in some time, it doesn't exactly say when, Curtis Sr., the dad, would start dating Sonia Nicole Spites. And so I couldn't exactly find when Sonia was born, sadly, otherwise I would mention it, of course. And so it was said to be she was said to be the mother of 2 girls, and the girls were younger than Catherine and Curtis. So, yeah. And so then there was said to be one point where her 2 kids and Catherine and Curtis and Curtis Sr., they all live in the house together, and they all said to have actually gotten fined with nicknames, all the good stuff. And then Sonia would go send her kids to go live with their grandmother in Alabama. Sonia was actually said to have been a teacher, so education was her passion. And so it said the following year, in 1994, Curtis would tell his mother Stacy that he was being abused by a family member, and so then CPS would find signs of abuse, but no action was taken because Curtis was threatened into not saying anything. And so it would later come out that the person was actually the dad's brother, so I guess uncle, and he actually was a registered sex offender for raping one of his girlfriend's daughters the year prior. Apparently had armed robbery on his record, and apparently had sex with a 14-year-old. And sadly, this man is to this day, his name is not in the media, it's not publicly named or whatever. And so I would just be referring to him as the abuser because, yeah, so you kind of understand what's going on. And so Curtis was actually said to have been sharing a room with this man. So obviously you can understand it does not go well. And so another investigation will be opened after Curtis was said to have had a black eye, but nothing was done. In September of 1998, Catherine had actually ran away. A teacher of hers would call to say that Catherine was being abused by the same man that Curtis had said he was being abused by. So obviously an investigation had to be done there. And so the state would actually have an investigation, and they found some evidence, but apparently not enough to have them removed. Counseling was offered, but Curtis Sr., the dad, refused. He was told that the abuser didn't need to be in the same house as the children because of his offender status, which that's obvious, but, let him know. And so one day while walking home from school, Catherine would confess to Curtis what basically had been going on with her. And so then Curtis was like, I believe you, and I believe you because, well, it's been happening to me too. So now they are able to confide in each other because they both are going through this very tragic thing. And so then one day in the shower, sadly, the same man, the abuser, would come in, and apparently sources differ. So apparently one source would say that he did actually violate her in the shower, and there was like another source that said that he was pleasuring himself in the shower, but most of them said he was pleasuring himself. And so I want to go with that. And again, sources are always down in the description, so you can listen, because most of these sources are YouTube videos. And so yeah. Anyway, so he's in there. He pleasures himself, and apparently he left 50 cents. And apparently this makes her that was kind of degrading, obviously. So then this is said to be Catherine's snapping point. She's said to have actually withdrew, and then she would eat and stay in her room most of the time. So then a journal entry of hers would actually said that she was going to kill everyone, and then she told Curtis, who said that he would help. So then they talked to Sonia, apparently at one point, about the abuse, because, she's a woman in the house, see what she can do. And she was said to have actually not believed them, so then they basically said she had to die instead. So then the fateful day is January 6, 1999. Sonia was actually said to be working on a puzzle while Curtis Sr. was at work, and the abuser was out doing who knows what. And so then Curtis had his gun, and Curtis had actually had his father's gun in his lap. How he actually got it, I couldn't find that either. And so then Curtis would shoot Sonia by shooting her twice in the chest. Catherine would grab the gun and then shoot her 2 more times. At the scene, it's actually said that 9 shots were fired in total, but again, these are children, so they couldn't handle the gun properly. And so the gun apparently was just shooting bullets everywhere. But only 4 of the 9 bullets actually hit Sonia. So now, of course, Sonia is dead. They then chicken out about killing the father and the abuser. And so then they drag the body to the bathroom and pour bleach on the blood trail. They go to a friend's house and tell them that they accidentally shot Sonia. And the mother would say they would have to call the police. Because, you accidentally shot her. Let's go get her some help, before it's too late. So the 2, ran away. And then they hid behind some fields behind their house. And they somehow were not found until the next morning. And so the 2 were actually said to... I think it was the prosecutors. The 2 were said to have killed Sonia because they were jealous of the attention that Sonia was getting from her father, because Sonia was the girlfriend. And so then police would say there was no real evidence for the abuse, and the lack of remorse was the reason they were charged as adults. And so at that time, they had become the youngest people charged for murder at the time, which should have caused a lot of media attention, but surprisingly it didn't. And so originally they were charged for first-degree murder. However, they took a plea deal with second degree, getting 18 years with lifelong probation. And so had they took the first degree, they probably would have got life or death. And so I'm pretty sure that would have caused a lot of media attention, since they were 12 and 13 getting life. And so the attorney would ask for clemency, and it was rejected because the law at the time apparently said that they had to serve at least 85% of their sentence. And so then fast forward to 2008, apparently it's Hurricane Francis, because, this is Florida. The fence at the facility where Curtis was broken, and so him and a bunch of other boys decided to take the opportunity and just dip. And so they were found later. They were brought back, and so 318 days was added to his sentence because of that escape attempt. And so other than that, he really didn't do anything outside of that. And so when Curtis would become an ordained minister in jail, while in prison, so that's good for him, Catherine would become pen pals with a sailor in the Navy in 2009 named Ramus Fleming. They were actually said to have married in prison in November 27th, 2013, while Catherine is still in prison. Curtis would finally get released on July 28th, 2015. Catherine would be released on August 1st, 2015. So at the ages of 29 and 30. And so conditions regarding the parole, including paying $50 a month for the first 18 months that they're out of jail. And apparently this is for supervision. And then not to excess in intoxicants, and talking to probation officers for moving. So the last one, I feel like that's pretty common sense. Like, you got to talk to your probation officer for moving. The other two are just, eh. Well, Catherine is now a mother and is working with the campaign of fair sentencing for youth, so that way, when a youth gets charged, they are not spending life in prison in solitary confinement like she suffered. Basically, she's trying to improve it to where the youth do not have to go through basically what she went through during her years of prison. And then Curtis has not spoken to the media at all regarding what happened since his release in 2015, or even while he was in prison. And so I actually saw somewhere that they actually weren't actually allowed to talk to each other because they are co-defendants, even though they are siblings, and they were said to be close. I don't even know if that's completely true, but apparently they're not allowed to talk to each other because they're co-defendants. And so, yeah, that was a very tragic case of Curtis and Catherine Jones, the youngest convicted killers at the time, to be charged for adults for murder. And so, yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting case. I'll see you all tomorrow with the last 12 Days of Murder case. And love y'all. Stay safe. Bye.